Hey, what's going on? This is Sue Peters, and you are listening to the Mompreneur Lifestyle Secrets Podcast. Here's the big question. As women, how can we have it all? Stay at home with our babies, bring in an income that lets us live a life full of passion and purpose, and maintain our health and self-identity along the way? This podcast is going to help give you that answer. Wow, so this is exciting. My very first podcast, you guys. So I have been around for a long time, and I don't know. I guess I was just too nervous to do my first podcast. I don't know. I'm not really sure why, honestly, but here I am. So I thought I would do this very first one and just kind of talk about my story and what you're going to get from the podcast as we go. So I have been in an MLM industry for, since 2015. And I no joke, I literally swore I would never, ever do anything like that. And you guys, I'm not here to like recruit or, like spam the MLM industry or anything like that. On the contrary, I actually love the industry. And I just really think that a lot of things need to change. So I'm never going to talk about what MLM I'm in. I'm never going to mention the name. That's not the purpose of this podcast. That's not why I'm here. But it's an industry that's actually really important to me. And, I've really become drawn to it. And what's funny is when, prior to even starting, I never ever imagined I would be part of something like this. I swore I would never do it. And truly, honestly, I was always invited to the home parties, and you guys remember the days of Party Light? That was forever ago. So home parties and, all the different things that they do, right? I had all of the invitations and I never liked it. And I always came up with an excuse why I couldn't go. It's just not me. It was never anything that I had any interest in. And just probably the majority of you in my head, I always thought, oh, this is a scam. They're all scams. They all this, that, right? Well, my heart was drawn to one, and there's some big reasons as to why, which I'll talk about. But I was really drawn into it, and I started to really discover that MLM is no different than any other business. The problem is that there's a lot of people who take it to a spammy level. And at some point in time, that shifted, and I don't really know why. So I decided, I think, to do this podcast to try to make MLM great again, I guess. So I'm going to talk a lot about my health journey as I go. So you guys will hear some pieces of that, because I know a lot of people who follow me deal with the same hypothyroid issues that I do. So I will talk about that as well. But the majority of what my podcast is for is I'm rebranding myself, and I really want to, as I've built my business, I kind of feel like I've let my team down a little bit over the years. And I really want to kind of reinvent how MLM is done. And I want to, help people restructure their business. And as I'm learning, I'm going to basically share what I'm learning along the way, what I'm doing along the way, how I'm recreating my business, how I'm creating systems for my team, and how I'm just kind of making a shift and no longer using the outdated broken systems that are out there right now, because I've done them all, right? I've done all of the things that are suggested, and frankly, it's just not me. So a little background: I was in the mortgage industry. Gosh, my husband and I opened our own company in 2003, and I was in it for 3 years prior to that. So I was in the mortgage industry for almost 17 years before I started my MLM. And there's a very big reason as to why I even started in the first place. But so kind of talking about the MLM a little bit, being in that industry for that long, we never spammed people. I mean, there are spammers in the mortgage industry. There's spammers in every industry. And for whatever reason, MLM just took it to a whole new level. But there's spammers in every industry, unfortunately. And there are in the mortgage industry. But when we were building our mortgage company, we did not spam people. We did not cold call. How weird would that be for me to have emailed or messaged someone I've never talked to before and just been hey girl, I have this amazing way for you to buy a house. Interested? Right? Like that would just be weird. We never did that. What we did do was marketing. We marketed ourselves. And for some reason, that's been lost in the MLM industry. And I want to try to bring that back, right? So that's how I'm reinventing myself. I'm bringing the marketing back into my business. And I'm using all of the knowledge that I gained in the mortgage industry and how we built our company and the marketing that we did and the value and authenticity that we brought to the company, I'm bringing that back into my MLM. And that's how I'm reinventing myself. And that's what I'm doing. So I basically just want to share that journey as I go, right? Like I want to like talk about the things that I'm doing and the things that I'm changing, because if it can help someone else too, then amazing, because the MLM industry is amazing, but it's also broken. And, I mean, if I can help you guys like reinvent yourselves too, and, you know, build something bigger for yourself, then fantastic. If we can take the spam out of it, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't like getting the spammy messages. And I don't get mad at people when they do it. I mean, that's what they see. That's what they're taught by their uplines, right? So, I mean, I don't get upset, but it almost kind of breaks my heart. And, you know, getting all those messages and trying everything else myself and doing all these different things, it almost kind of opened my eyes and made me realize that there are other ways that it can be done. And so I've started putting some things in play, and we're going to see how it goes. And I'll definitely talk to you guys a lot about it. That's what this podcast is going to be for. So how did I get here, right? Because I swore I would never be part of this type of industry. So I want to kind of take a step and talk about how I even got here. Because honestly, the mortgage industry I thought was forever. Like that was my career. Like that is literally what I thought I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I loved it. I really did love it. And until the politics changed. Unfortunately, the last couple of years of the business made it really, really hard, because there were a lot of politics that changed in the industry, and it took a lot of the fun and joy out of it, right? Like instead of connecting with my clients and having a really good time, being so excited with them buying a house, right? It became draining. And it was hard on the homeowner, and that made it hard on me. And as much as I tried to make it a fantastic process for them, because it's an exciting time, the industry just really made it quite difficult. So anyways, in 2015, I'll start giving you dates, because obviously as this podcast goes, it's going to change a little bit. So in 2015, I kind of hit a wall, and I hit this major wall primarily with my health. I didn't realize I hit a wall elsewhere too, personally, kind of deep down in my heart and what I was feeling. But it started with my health. My health was falling apart, and I was dealing with diabetes, hypothyroidism was the main thing. But I also had diabetes, high cholesterol, I had IBS. I was dealing with depression and anxiety and all these different health issues. And I needed a solution with my health. I didn't know what. I literally had no clue what I needed. I didn't know how to fix or change anything. I was on all this medication, all these different things, right? I didn't even know there were options out there otherwise, right? Like I just knew something had to change. I hit this crazy wall. So I joined my MLM for that reason. I needed a solution, and never really expected for it to help me. But here I am in 2019, and I'm still using the products and programs to this day. So to say that it helped me is an entirely different level. And 6 months into the road that I was on, my health started changing so much that I was literally able to go off of all medication. I was able to remove everything. And I'm not saying it was my MLM that did it. So let me make that clear. My MLM is not the direct effect of me going off of medication, but they were the resources that gave me the drive to figure out how to go off of medication. And they certainly assisted. They certainly helped me gain the foundation that I needed. But they were not the direct result. So I do want to make that clear. Big disclaimer right there, right? But they were the driving factor, and they were what I needed to give me that drive to research and dig into what I needed to do in order to go off of medication. So 6 months into that journey, not only did it help me really kind of get everything with my health on track, but it helped give me that that drive and that research driven kind of nerdiness, I guess you could say, to discover what I needed to do. And I am to this day still medication free, and I hope to keep it that way. But along the way, having been in that mortgage industry, kind of taking a step back into that part of my life, my husband and I built our business together, and we were together 24/7. We still are now. We're back to that, which is amazing. Takes a special relationship, I think, to be together 24/7. So I do love him. He's my best friend, and I wouldn't change a thing because it's amazing being with him. But when we opened our mortgage company, we were literally together 24/7. We drove to work together. We drove home together. We obviously stayed home together. We were at work all day together. I mean, we were together all the time. And this was obviously before we had kids, several years. Then when we had kids, we had to make a really, really difficult decision. And that decision had to be who was going to stay home. Is anybody going to stay home? Are we going to put the kids in daycare? Like, what is it that we're going to do, right? And the decision was left that my husband was going to stay home with my kids, and I was going to remain going into the office and running the office. And here's why we had to do that. I was the one that had my license. My husband decided not to continue forward with his license. He did more of the back end stuff. He didn't like the originating part of things. So he did not have his license. And so it was left on my shoulders, and I was the one that had to go into the office. We didn't really have a whole lot of choice there. So my husband stayed home with the kids, and I ran our office. This went on for several years. And when I hit that wall with my health, I was also hitting a wall emotionally. And I didn't really realize what an impact it was having on me at the time. But I was growing very jealous and almost resentful of my husband because I wanted to be in his shoes. I tell this story and I cry almost every single time because it just brings everything back. So I'm sorry. But I was growing very upset, and I was working like 80 hours a week. The mortgage industry, if anybody is in that, you realize it's not a 9 to 5, right? Like it's you need to be available pretty much all the time. So I was working a lot of hours, and I was so jealous and so sad because I wanted to be home with my kids. I came home and they were always in the pool, having fun, laughing, giggling, right? The house was always a disaster because they were just playing and having a good time. I had to make dinner, had all these responsibilities, and I had this small little window of time with them to bathe and go to bed. So it made me sad and it broke my heart. So when I started my MLM, I started it for my health. I did not get into it for the purpose of joining the opportunity, but it grabbed my heart. So when it gave me that solution that I needed for my health, it started to really grab my heart in terms of the opportunity too. So I jumped in, I dove headfirst, and I literally went all in. Hoping that maybe it could just bring me home. And fast forward a little bit, and it did. But at first it was hard, and I ran. Like I spammed, I did all the stuff, right? Like I did all the stuff. I did all the messaging. I did all the asking of the friends. I made my lists. I did all of the things, and I did all of the spammy things. So if I spammed you, I publicly apologize to you right now. I'll just put that out there right now. But so I did all of the things trying to grow my business, and I discovered I was really doing things the hard way. And it took a few years for me to really kind of open my eyes that there's got to be something different. There have to be other options out there, other ways to grow my business that don't include those outdated spammy tactics stuck in the 90s. And so that's what's led me here. That's why I'm here right now. That's why I'm reinventing myself. That's why I'm reinventing my company, helping my team in a completely different way. And we're going to start growing our business with more authenticity, more value. And we're just going to take things to a completely different level. And I'm super duper excited about it. So I'm crazy excited that you guys are here. And I hope you find value with this podcast. And I can't wait to get to know you guys. So stick around. Hopefully you enjoy what you hear, and we will talk to you next time. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and leave feedback. Do you have a question for the show? Head over to mompreneurlifestylesecrets.com and leave me a recorded message. I'll play it live and answer your question right on the show.